Pablo Manriquez is the co-founder of K Street Media here in Washington. Last week, he wrote a piece for HuffPost. Here's the title: Why Tucker Should Debate Me on Immigration. Now, we wouldn't want to forfeit our honor by turning down such a gentlemanly challenge from such a gentleman. So we have picked up the gauntlet Pablo threw down. The weapons will be words. The distance will be the width of this table. Pablo Manriquez joins us now. Pablo, thanks a lot for coming on.
Tucker, it's an honor to be here. Congrats.
Well, I'm glad to have you. And I'm always happy to debate this subject and stipulate it, as I always do, by saying I'm totally for immigration and for immigrants.
Right.
But I want to know what the parameters are. And so let me ask you a really simple question. Okay, so we've got 330 million people in the country.
Right.
If immigration rates stay at their current level, 1.2 million a year, we're going to have about 500 million people by the end of the century. If we follow the UN's lead on this, we would have 1.5 billion people in America by the end of this century. Those are estimates. What do you think the right level of immigration is?
I think that the right level of immigration has always been in this country, the level that's going to build the country and not detract from it. And I think that obviously, like, the immigration of the last several waves that have come through, mostly from Europe, obviously the Chinese as well, have helped build this country both infrastructurally, culturally, in a lot of different ways. And I think that the current Hispanic immigration wave, which has been so controversial politically lately, is having the same effect. And we're going through sort of like the birth pangs or the hunger throat, or the birth pangs of that cultural sort of assimilation, which I think is happening.
I guess I would call your assumption into question, though. I don't think it's Hispanic immigration that is controversial. We're seeing immigration from all over the world, from Asia, from Africa, heavy immigration. It's a question of a lot of things. What's the economic effect of this? What's the cultural effect of it? And what's the ideal level? So let's be a lot more specific than that. How many people should live in this country? If you had a country of 500 million people, would it be a better country than it is now, or a worse country?
Not if it's not sustainable. I mean,
what does that mean?
Well, I think that we currently have a level of immigration that in some ways is merit-based, but is often not. We also have a lot of unaccounted for immigrants that are crossing the border. The levels of immigration, specifically at 1.2 million, seem to be, it seems to be a number that has worked for us, up to a point. It worked for us up to a point when we were still building sort of the housing boom, when there were still jobs to sustain them. That number, at least in terms of border apprehensions, as we saw today from the...
No, this is legal immigration, though.
Right.
And so basically what you're proving is that you have no idea, and neither does anybody else. And so people jump up and they're like, I'm for more immigration. Really? So, like, to what level?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody has thought this through because they don't care.
It's not,
and they should care.
I don't know that they don't care. I think that there are always premises that are going to exist in the global flow of immigration that are going to call in, that are going to change things. Like, it's hard to say what the numbers should be now and into the future. And that's something that people have tried to say.
Let me flip it on its head. So the left-wing assumption, and this has changed a lot in the last 10 years, but as of today appears to be it's racist to exclude anybody from the country, whether they're here legally or illegally.
I think that too often that is an assumption. Yeah.
Okay, so what are the limits? Who should we be able to exclude?
Right.
And on what basis?
Obviously, people who are dangerous should be excluded first. And I think that the president's done a good job at addressing that sort of enforcement first priority against people who are criminal aliens or criminal immigrants or whatever you want to call them. I think that the president's also said, though, and this often gets lost in the debate, that there should be exceptions and that deportation shouldn't necessarily be the only punishment for people who come here illegally.
Okay. So
is that fair? Or?
I mean, I disagree with it, but I guess you wanted to come on to debate. We've got 2 minutes left. Debate me. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, I think that if you think that deportation is the only penalty that should be applied for immigrants, I think that that is wrong. I think that that's never been the case in previous immigration waves. And most of the time when we do have extraordinarily or too harsh of penalties, it becomes an embarrassment of history. I think that right now we have, within the Trump administration, a very robust conversation going on. And the turnkey of that conversation is General Kelly. General Kelly is obviously somebody who knows a lot about the immigration situation, especially in Central America. When he was General Kelly, head of Southern Command, he wrote the
and I don't doubt any of that. But let's just stick to the principle here really quickly. What you're saying is we have laws in the books we should ignore. And my question always is, if you believe that, then why not make a sincere effort to change the law?
I couldn't agree more.
And nobody does. So all the rich people in America, all well-educated rich people, are for ignoring immigration law. Every single one of them I know. But I don't hear anybody mounting a campaign in Congress to change the law. And let's just make it the law that if you sneak in and we think you're great or you work for me at a low wage, you get to stay. Why not just make that the law? Why ignore laws on the books? That's corrosive of the rule of law, is it not?
I wouldn't disagree that the only way to change the law is through Congress, through the system. And I think that President Trump has the unique opportunity now to do something that would be unprecedented in a way that only he could really accomplish.
So what should the law be?
Well, I think that the first thing that needs to change is the way that we evaluate dreamers. We should let them stay. We should, I mean, I hate to say it, and I know a lot of people... What
does that mean? Anyone who dreams can stay? Or, like, tell me the specific criteria.
So I think that if we trust the specific criteria that dreamers have handed over through their DACA applications, we can evaluate them pretty substantially. And in evaluating some...
So give me an example. You're here illegally. You should be allowed to stay if you blank. If you what?
I think that if you came here at a certain age that was too young to be able to decide on your own whether or not you came here, I think that, like in the case of the guy
who... should their parents be allowed to stay too?
In many cases, I think that they should, Tucker. I hate to say it, but...
So anyone who sneaks in with the child, you can't deport the child, then you can't deport the parents. What about the grandparents and cousins?
It gets complicated, Tucker, once you get into it. It does.
Yeah,
it does.
All right.
But we have to have a humane approach to this, Tucker. I mean...
Okay, then why don't we codify it? Instead of degrading
we
our
should,
system
and
by
honestly, we have
our
seen
laws.
nothing but cowardice from the Democrat and the Republican side on this topic.
I'm with you there, because they don't really believe what they say.
They don't.
Pablo,
they don't.
I don't know if that was a debate. We kind of agreed on a lot.
We did.
It's great to see you.
Great to see you too, Tucker.
Thank you.
And congrats again on all your success.
Thank you.